Yo.
What it do? What it do, folks?
What's happening?
We're out here in these streets.
In these hot
yet
streets.
Again, talk about the hot streets of Texas.
I think today was one of the hottest days.
My God.
I think we've had hot days, but the last few days have been tolerable. But today was just
Yeah, it was next level.
nuts. My skin was scorching today.
Yeah, we out here burning.
Burning.
We on fire here
Hot
in
fires.
Texas, literally, because it is like really, really hot today. But what up, family?
Yo, what's going on?
How's everyone's week? How are you guys feeling this evening? Happy Friday, happy Sabbath to those. You know, the other day I was listening. Sometimes I listen back to our podcast to kind of talk about, to kind of see, you know, how we can improve and whatnot. And while we were talking, I said to myself, like, we really have to frame or not be careful, but be mindful of the fact that people that watch us there are some Adventists and then there are some that aren't, right? So we have to be mindful because sometimes our jargon, the things that we're saying and the things that we are expressing could be completely unfamiliar to those people to others, people that have no clue. So
Facts on facts. Because
so-
people watch us during the week, particularly
Exactly.
too on YouTube. And, you know, we've been getting some comments on there, some nice comments.
comments.
But yo, shout out to everybody who is specifically Rochelle for clapping back.
Okay.
Clapping back.
Not sure what
at
that was
the
about.
person that was trying to get at us on the comments on YouTube.
What up, Authenio?
Yo, shout out to Authenio.
He is always in the chats. We appreciate you. He was like, "What up? What's up, family?"
Yo, we're gonna have
We gonna have to.
we need to have a soca.
Oh, dear.
A soca episode.
Oh dear. I mean, it could be gospel soca, right? Or you talking about like the real thing?
The real thing.
Oh,
Nobody
dear.
wants veggie soca.
What are you talking about? That's what most West Indians, Caribbean people, right? It's not okay to listen to the other stuff with the lyrics, right? They can have the same beat, but they just put church lyrics to it.
Would you consider I Look Down the Road and I Wonder a soca song?
Yes.
Okay. Or yeah.
But it's a veggie soca song. It's not a
It's an excuse for older people in the church to whine.
older and younger. Let's
And
be
younger,
honest.
that's true. But the older people, they used to get down whenever we sang that song.
Facts. Who else is on this space, in this space with us? I know
Yeah.
Antonio is not the only one. We have about 11 of you all watching. So let's say 10 because Antonio is one. And so let's say 12. 12 of you are watching. Who else is on here in the space with us? We would just love to shout you out.
In the comments, yeah, we've been having issues with Ecamm. I'm gonna go to a different platform because if I don't see the Facebook comments coming in, because that's where most of our audience is, then I'm gonna switch and I'm gonna cancel out Ecamm. And so hashtag Ecamm, because they have not been very, very responsive and taking care of this.
I'm sorry to hear that. You sound very passionate about that.
Very passionate.
Producer. So that makes sense that you would be passionate about it. For me, I'm just like, we on here. So it doesn't matter, or it does matter. I know it matters to you, and that's what what is important. So make sure the volume is down before you click on it, because that will be atrocious for us to hear it.
Yeah,
Okay.
look at that. Shay Andy is watching with
Go
us
ahead,
tonight.
Shay. What's up?
Shay?
It's so good to see you in the comments, sis. It's been a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah, we love our peoples that come through.
Facts. All love, all the love in the world to all of you. All right. So how was your week?
My week was productive, or I don't really know how to describe my week. It was, matter of fact, my week was awesome. The beginning of the week was great. We had pastors here from all over the United States. And for 6 months,
Yeah.
a team of us, shout out to my team, to Pastor Todd Stout, shout out to Pastor Lola Johnston, shout out to Pastor Ronald Williams, shout out to Pastor Vadim, shout out to VersaCare Foundation, Advent Hope Ventures. For 6 months, we have been teaching and training and equipping pastors about community engagement. And so the culmination came to Dallas.
Nice.
And I had the privilege of, finishing what we started about social justice and how to get involved and how to be, be a force in your community. So
Dope.
that was great. I was tired Monday and Tuesday, but nevertheless,
it was good.
It was good. So
good for the soul.
I'm happy about the pastors that are, the pastors that are usually not on the circuit, on the radar, that's getting all the, that aren't always seen. But to know what they are doing, these pastors are doing, is phenomenal. So I'm real happy about that.
That's what's up. It felt good to see you just really excited about the work and excited to have these, ministers, women and men come together and just essentially talk all things social justice, what they're doing in the communities, and how they can better be, better
equipped.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what it is, better equipped. So shout out to everyone that participated. I could definitely tell that you really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, yes.
So really happy for you in that regard.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How was your week?
My week was weekend, y'all. My week was weekend.
Your week was weekend or weekend?
Week-ing. It was weeking. But essentially what I learned this week was there are a lot of lies that I tell myself. There are a lot of lies I tell myself, right? Even lies that lies about God or who God says he is, right? I often believe the lie that I create, the narrative that I create in my mind. And so a beautiful soul that God has gifted to me, we had a conversation, and from that conversation, it just completely changed the trajectory of my entire week.
Talking about me?
Yes, I'm talking about you, darling.
Horns.
But I definitely came away with the truth, and 3 truths that I came away with that I've been kind of reciting for this entire week is that God loves me, that God is leading me, and that God is with me. And so that I keep telling myself those truths, right? And kind of letting the lies that says opposite, to stay in the back or just completely stay out. So my week it started out a little rough, but I'm glad to say that I'm here present and just really excited about what God is going to do. And I'm really, really, really happy that I get to believe the lies and really see how God is going to move. So
you said believe the lies?
I mean, believe the truth.
Oh, yeah, because
bad.
You did say believe the lies.
I'm not believing the lies anymore.
That is, yeah. Amen.
I've decided to leave the lies, but to believe what God says and what God has to say. So,
yo, that's dope.
Yeah, it is, man. Because sometimes the devil be like trying to KO. You know what I mean? Like trying to knock me out. But
you said sometimes.
Yeah, it's true. It's constant. But I'm really glad that I'm on the other side and I'm here to tell the story. So praise him. I hope you guys had an amazing week as well. Or if your week was not as amazing as mine in terms of like the beginning and now it's like, yo, we here. It's Friday. It's the weekend.
Yo, it's the weekend. And whatever you choose to do with tomorrow and Sunday, that is totally up to you. Just enjoy life. Enjoy breathing in and breathing out. And enjoy the people in your circle.
Amen.
And don't let no squares get in your circle.
Amen.
That's the word.
Okay. That's the word for today?
That's the word for today.
Ba-dum-bum.
Don't let squares in your circle.
Okay. Shay Andy says my week was bomb. God is good.
Is good. Bomb with 2 exclamation marks.
That's what's up.
Yo,
I'm glad to hear. Shout out to bomb weeks, yo. When you have a bomb week, you're just like, hallelujah, praise the Lord, I made it.
Facts on facts.
You know what I mean? So shout out that God allowed you to have a bomb week. That's what's up. So we just gonna get right into it. It's been like, I think, look at that, 13 minutes in. Over 13 minutes in. So last week we talked about boundaries. It was a great conversation about boundaries. And so
I would say so too.
Okay. What's up, Mia?
Mia Naomi.
So would you like to give the intro? Not intro, excuse me. Update. Update.
I
recap.
really think you're better at the recap because
I
don't remember.
We talked about boundaries.
I know boundaries, but I don't remember the details. Like what part we talked about boundaries in our marriage.
Yeah, just boundaries in marriage, and then
and then like what we do and don't do.
Yeah,
it was great.
What up, Matt? I mean, Guy, excuse me, not Matt. I don't know why. You know why? Because I keep seeing John. Sorry.
Jean-Louis.
What up,
Shout
guys?
out to guys Jean-Louis. Yo, let me tell y'all something, people. I really have difficulty remembering things, recalling things. Like, it just, because I think I move from like one thing to another. I move and just forget about whatever I did the day before because I'm so focused on what I have to do now. Okay. So I think after we had our conversation Friday, so much has happened.
Yeah,
Saturday happened, Sunday happened, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays that I'm just like, I don't remember.
Can I pause you for a little bit?
Pause.
However, we did have a conversation about today.
We did, but I don't even remember what we talked about today.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's all right. So last week we talked about boundaries. We kind of gave a definition of what boundaries are. We had Tiffany and we had I think it was Melissa Johnson. She talks about how boundaries are self-love, like a form of self-love, right? It's coming to you now. Okay,
it's coming back.
Okay, great. And so creating those boundaries are important just as a human being on earth. And even when you get married or you're in a relationship, that is so important to establish those boundaries for yourself and then be able to express those boundaries to your spouse or to your boo, whoever you're in a relationship with, right? And so we just kind of talked through those things. We kind of gave examples. We talked about boundaries that we had in our marriage. And we also talked about the phone boundary and what that looks like. Like, we just kind of talked through all those things. But realized that we did not capture boundaries in the bedroom and boundaries with children. And we really wanted to talk through that because I don't think I hear about it often, right? Unless you read a book or maybe a podcast that you listen to, but you really don't hear that.
Yo, you're good. You're really good. You're really good at this.
Thank you.
Really. Shout out. You're really good to this. I was sitting there like, I want to watch that episode.
Okay. Not sure what's happening, but sure.
Yeah, I was like, man, that sounded like it was a really good episode. But I remember what you were talking about.
Okay.
And setting those boundaries. And yes, we didn't talk about, and I think as a result of that conversation, I don't know if it came up in the chat or it's just we realized, okay, what do boundaries with children and boundaries in the bedroom look like?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you. And I think there was also a part where we talked about boundaries and respect for each other and that not groping you in public and things like that and respecting
we didn't talk about
your
that.
body. We didn't talk about that?
No, we did not talk about that at all.
All right. I'm going to talk about that.
Okay. All right. So that's pretty much like a really accelerated way of updating you guys or recapping, not updating, recapping last week's episode. So here we go. So now we're talking about boundaries in the episode in the bedroom. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So do you want to start this or you want me to? I feel like I've been talking.
No, I think you're doing an excellent job.
I mean, I know that I am, but I'm just saying, like, I don't mind sharing, right? So Go for it.
I get it. So I think what we discovered after our conversation last week. And when we talk about boundaries in marriage, we're really talking about just relationships and period, right? It's not just marriage, right? If you're in a relationship with someone else, that there's always boundaries in regards to what that other person wants and that other person's desires and protecting them. And I think in our conversation last week, we just stumbled upon the fact that there should be boundaries in marriage in the bedroom.
We didn't stumble, like we talked through this.
Yeah, I mean, like we came to a point where we were like, we need to talk about this.
Right.
And so that's why we're here right now. So do you think there should be boundaries in the bedroom?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's important.
Why is it important?
I thought you were gonna lead with it. lead us into the conversation, not asking me, but that's how you want to take the approach.
I'm leading into the conversation because based on your answers will determine how I'm gonna answer back.
I think yes, it is very important for you to have boundaries in the bedroom, because there's simply some things that you like, or there's some things that you may not like. And it's important for you to be able to express that boundary to your spouse.
What if your spouse disagrees?
If you disagree with what my boundaries are, then there's a deeper issue than us talking about boundaries.
Okay, I respect that.
Yeah, that if you can't respect that, then there's a deeper underlining issue that bringing up those boundaries probably have unearthed or opened up, right, as a result. But let's talk to the people. Let's talk to the people. What are your thoughts with regards to if you brought your boundary to your spouse and your spouse is not in agreement, and let's be specific, in the bedroom, right? And your spouse disagrees with what it is that you are sharing. What do you do?
Mm-hmm. What's an example of a boundary in the bedroom?
You're asking me.
Yeah, I'm asking anybody. Okay. If anybody wants to wants to chime in, then please answer the question however which way you feel that you should. But I think a boundary in the bedroom should be definitely like what you bring into the room, what you bring into the bedroom, right? That has to be agreed upon between you and the other person.
That what you bring into the bedroom?
Yeah, like
what do you mean?
Like the conversation. There are you bring in somebody else into the bedroom.
Mercy.
You bring in movies into the bedroom. You bring in objects into the bedroom. Those type of things. Like we can't ignore that. So I think also to the boundary in regard to my body, like what's okay for you to do to my body versus what I can do to your body is definitely a boundary that should be set.
I definitely agree that boundary should be set. I believe that one of the boundaries that I know that we have in our marriage is not bringing pornography into our space, into our marriage, into the bedroom, like not using it as a tool to somehow create a vibe of sorts that will, whatever. Like that's something that is a boundary for us,
right?
Where that's a hell no.
Right.
Hell to no.
Right. So like I always wonder, and people are chiming in. I always wonder, like, I think when boundaries are set, there also has to be a compromise in some ways, because there can be boundaries that are set where the husband and the wife, the boyfriend and the girlfriend, whatever kind of relationship that you're in, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it's right, with two people, that there can be a boundary set by one person and the other person is probably not happy with that boundary or doesn't agree with that boundary, right? Like, yeah, that's maybe not what you like, but that's what I like. So I guess my question is, who wins that argument, or who wins that, who gets to give in?
I think it all depends on the situation. Maybe a therapist may be better able to answer questions like this. But I think that there has to be compromise for sure. But if I'm letting you know, as it relates to my body, that this is something that I don't feel comfortable with, I'm going to assume because you love me that you would respect it, right? I think boundaries can be tricky, right? And then there are some times where people compromise those boundaries based on whatever. I just solely feel that if it's relating to my body, that you do not have the right to dictate, even though it's something that you may like or you may enjoy, is something that for me personally, I'm going to hold to. I'm going to hold on to that, where I'm not going to compromise with it. Maybe time, maybe therapy, maybe talking through it more so that you can have a better understanding of what it is that, or why it is that I'm feeling this way towards this act or the way that you do certain things. But for right now, this is something that I feel, and I don't know, like it's a very thin line. It depends on the person. But when it comes to the body,
yeah,
that's a hard no.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the person who feels offended or feels that will feel some type of way should always win, or should always be respected, even if it's something that the other person likes.
Yes.
I think that if your body is compromised in any way, shape, form, or fashion, that it should definitely win in regards to, because it won't be a relationship if one person is getting pleased or one person is getting what they want and that other person is just giving in, but they feel violated and disrespected.
Exactly.
It's almost like, remember old boy that got up and said, if there's anybody you could rape, it's your wife.
Oh my God.
Like that's clearly you ain't got no self-respect. You ain't got no boundaries.
Again, I think because women especially, feels as though like we don't have control over, not control, but yeah, we don't own our bodies in a sense, right? Like we've been taught like the man is the one that kind of like, like our bodies were purely meant for reproduction, right? Like that is what our bodies are for or meant for. And there is no absolutely regard to, how to make a woman's body feel, right? Where it's just about selfish desires, where the man gets to decide, oh, well, I'm a man in the bedroom, so I gotta, show my manhood in this way, right? Versus it being something that you're coming together and you're doing, where both of you are pleasured, where both of you are pleased, and it's not one or the other. I think it's so important to be able to communicate. We've been talking about communication for the past few weeks, but that communication piece is key. Like being able to speak up. Like if something may have worked, listen, some things may have worked 2 weeks ago, and this week is not working, right? So do you stay quiet and just pray that it will work over a period of time, or it may feel good over a period of time? Or do you say, hey, let me go ahead and speak up and just talk about this?
Right. Like, and I think Shay Andy said something good, right? Mm-hmm. She said that, shouldn't that be discussed before marriage? And if so, people change. So if they change the way they feel about certain things, then what? I think that is always a hurdle, right? That because if if we've been doing something for 3-4 months, a year into our relationship, and then all of a sudden you or the other person brings up, or myself brings up, like, I don't like this, you're gonna be sitting there. I think for me, I'll be sitting there like, one, why didn't you tell me this before? Two, when did you stop liking this? Because particularly too, if you were acting like you were liking it at the moment, it's gonna be a real hard sell conversation. I think we kind of mentioned it last week that if you gonna get up, you got to be consistent, right? So you can't go back and forth. If you say something you don't like, or if it says something that makes you feel some type of way, you can't say it once and then go back, and then when it's done again, you're like, da, 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 type of thing. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-mm. No, what
you're saying that you have to be consistent.
I think so. Yeah, I think that. All right. So let's just hypothetical. Dishes in the sink, right? If you tell me I don't like when you leave dishes in the sink, and then for a year into our marriage, dishes have always been in the sink. And then you tell me that, and I'm gonna be like, oh, word? All right. Then I switch up and I start making sure dishes are not left in the sink. And then a month later, I probably leave dishes in the sink, or you leave dishes in the sink. And then I wake up and see dishes in the sink. I'm like, okay, what's going on? You was just getting on me for not leaving dishes on the sink, and now there's dishes in the sink right now. So that's what I'm talking about, consistency.
You're talking about consistency as it relates to sex or being pleasured. Is that what you're specifically talking about?
Right.
So you're saying that if this time, if for a certain amount of time, you're accustomed to being in a, let's be real. Hopefully the kids are asleep in your house and they're not watching this, but even if, just let them go somewhere else. But what you're saying is, if I'm accustomed, if I'm saying, okay, I'm accustomed to one position, right? One position all the time. This is what we do. This one position, right? And then a few weeks later, I'm like, I want to change it up, right? For whatever reasons, I want to change it up. Maybe, maybe I'm trying something new in our bedroom. Maybe I am, maybe my body just does not respond the same way to that position. So here now I'm like, yeah, this position is cool. This right. I'm changing positions now. I think I actually want to go back. Right. I think in marriage, you should have that freedom to change things up, because I don't think to our experience sexually, I feel like sometimes you'll be like, yeah, this is great. This works, but then this does not necessarily work the same way. And that's where the excitement comes out, where you're like, ooh, let's try this way. Let's try this thing. Right. And hopefully and prayerfully it works. And if it doesn't work, like, it's a trial and error. I think it's our approach, right? How do you approach the conversation of, hey, do you approach it in the moment, in the heat of the moment? Or do you approach it maybe when maybe I approach it when I'm, on my cycle, right? Do I approach it when we have clothes on and we're not trying to do anything, right? I think approaching it should not be in the moment.
Right. I agree. And I think the last part you said, help fix it, right? Because I'm thinking about it like, there's a position that is done, and then for like 3, 4, 5 months, the person has not liked that, never liked it, never want, but because they never spoke up, they never said anything. They just continue to allow it to happen. Then maybe a year later, they come out and they be like, I hate this. Right? I think the other person is going to be like, fam, where is this coming from? Like, we was doing it like this all the time. You was acting like you liked it and stuff like that. And then now there's just this is like a whole switch the ball game. I think the other person should definitely be understanding and should be appreciative. But I don't think you should, or we should feel like that person shouldn't feel some type of way when the boundary is verbalized, when it's been a year after doing it a certain way.
I agree. I agree that if it was not something, if a year has passed and something has not been said, I think there's a deeper issue, an underlying issue of maybe being afraid, right, to express that thing, right? Maybe it can be a lot of other reasons, right? I don't know, but I think that it's important to be soft in these moments. Both the person that is saying, yo, it's been a year and I'm not feeling this, right? You're not going to come in and be like, yo, your approach is everything, as well as the person that's listening to it, that they also listen to it from a softened heart, not a heart of like, yo, what you trying to say? Like, you're trying to say that I'm not, whatever. I think it has to be how you approach the conversation, when you approach the conversation, and how you approach the conversation with your spouse, with your partner.
Yeah, I agree.
So Shay says, but suppose your spouse compromises just to please you, but after a while, she or he does not want to do that anymore. What's the next step? Compromise comes with boundaries too. No?
I think the compromise does come with boundaries. I think that there should be a limit to the compromise, or not constantly always giving in because of trying to make somebody else happy. If you're in a relationship,
right,
it should be both of you are trying to make each other happy. That's like that's the point of a relationship, right? It's not to make each other angry. It's to make each other feel respected and to be heard. And so regardless of the fact that, if, like this is a scenario we just brought up, if there's a certain position or if there's a certain thing that's done in the room, and no matter at what point or what time that either person is saying, I don't like that, it needs to be immediate stoppage.
Yeah, because then we are high key, not low key. We are high key embarking on abuse.
Right.
Let's keep it out there. Even in marriage, I know it happens. So if you cannot respect those boundaries and you are forcing yourself on your spouse, then that's straight abuse.
That's violence. So, Pierre 7. What's going on, Pierre? She says, as people change, evolve, grow, can we become lenient in our boundaries? Are they always set in stone?
And I think it's speaking to what Shay asked. Essentially, can the boundary be compromised?
Yeah. And
can you be lenient in those boundaries? It depends.
But I think she's onto something. I think that the older you get, there's a possibility that the older you get, you just become, I don't want to say aggressive, or just you're just like
aggressive.
Yeah, it's not aggressive. I think you just become whatever, right? It's almost like, look, I'm in my 70s now. I'm in my, I think this, no.
You in your 70s and you.
This is what I mean.
Okay.
I mean like this, like, I'm wondering if the older you get, are things still worth fighting for? Mind you, what I mean though is, if there's something, I think no matter what age you are, if there's something that makes you feel less of a human, that makes you feel violated, no matter what age you are always supposed to speak up. You're always supposed to set your boundaries and make them clear and explicit. But I'm wondering, are there things that the older you get where you're just kind of like, you know what, whatever, I'm good. This what makes this old person happy. Then just go ahead. I think we would definitely need a perspective from somebody who's been in the game.
I don't know.
For X amount of years.
I feel like, yes, we do evolve. Yes, we are growing. And yes, even those boundaries may change, right? But I think if it's relating to your body, right, that...
Your body, your mentals.
Yeah, like, all those things affect how your body responds to stimulation, to sex, right? I think even age, I think even perimenopause, premenopause, or whatever other postmenopause, whatever, or menopause, like all those things hormonal wise, like affect women's libido and all those things, right? So I think it just depends on the individual. I don't know if we answered your question, Pierre 7.
It's complicated.
Yeah,
it's very complicated.
I don't think boundaries are always set in stone, but I do know that they definitely change based on circumstances, based on whatever, right? Experiences. And that I think it's important to leave space for that to change, both spouses, for that to change, especially in the marriage and also in the bedroom.
Right.
It will change.
Right. It will change. It has to change because people change.
We all change.
We all grow. We like certain things. Sometimes we like Chick-fil-A. Sometimes we like McDonald's. Right. Everything changes after a while. What are you laughing at?
I'm sorry. What's up, Camilla
chose violence.
She says, "Hey, Carlene in Texas."
I ain't Texas. Camilla chose. She's choosing so violence funny. On this evening. Why is that so funny?
Oh my gosh! So let's do just a really quick recap with regards to when you have your boundary, right? Ask yourself first what you like and what you dislike. Even before you set your boundaries, ask what you like and but ask yourself first, what do you like and what you dislike in the bedroom?
Is that a conversation before marriage?
It's kind of hard to, if you haven't had sex.
No, I'm not saying like, but like now, I'm just throwing a curveball out there.
Here's the curveball.
Right? Like, I know that in the Christian, in the probably
Christian
Muslim, and various realms, religious realms, like, is this a conversation that should be had before marriage, or is this a conversation that needs to be had after marriage?
I think before. I think whatever conversation you have before marriage, you should have it.
Right.
You should have it during the marriage. All throughout the marriage.
So it should be a continuous, consistent conversation before marriage and throughout the marriage.
I don't think you ever should stop talking about sex in your marriage.
It ain't like you're going to stop doing it.
Right. If you still doing it, you might need to keep talking about it, for sure. So I don't think that it ever stops. Definitely before, but before it may look different if you're not Adventist. If you're not Christian, or you just you're having sex before marriage, right. Then that's something that should definitely be discussed if you're not having that conversation already.
Yeah. So what do you say? Like, yo, I like this. I want this. You want to do this? That's how the conversation goes?
No. I mean, if actually, you know what? If that's how you communicate, absolutely go for it. Do all of the things that you want to communicate. If that's how you communicate, have at it. I wouldn't communicate that way. But I definitely feel that a conversation.
Don't be coming at me like this, because that's not what I'm feeling. That's what I'm feeling. This is what I'm feeling, yo. Because this is what I need, yo.
Because even the conversation of like toys, like sexual toys, like
Don't
what do
be
we do?
bringing that stuff around here, yo.
Like if someone is like, yeah, I actually love sexual toys in the bedroom.
You be like, word?
Do you say, you know what, that's not my thing, right?
Be like, say more.
Yo, what's wrong with you?
I'm being silly tonight.
Apparently. So I think that's important to have the conversation before, during your marriage. And I think after you get married, you know, there may be things that you like and there may be things that you dislike. And those are the conversations that you have and say, yo, and I think you should lead with that in a positive way. Be like, you know, I love you when you do this, but I don't enjoy it when you do that. Right.
Yeah. It's not easy.
Oh, I know.
And that takes practice, because I think in relationships, you don't want to hurt your significant other's feelings or make them feel some type of way. So it's always difficult. But I think that if you're having the conversation consistently, then you're working that muscle, and you understand that neither party is coming from an intent or a place to put down. Like you said, it's the approach.
I believe that if you are intimate with your spouse, and when I mean intimate, you have conversations where you just feel like you're just vibing and you just like are wrapped up in each other's, the way you think and the way you're communicating and what you're saying to each other. I think intimacy does not start in the bedroom. I think it enhances, like it just does this enhancing thing after, right, conversations, or after you have intimate moments spent with each other. So I want to also put emphasis on that the intimacy does not begin when you lay on the bed. That is not how it starts. I think intimacy begins before that happens. Like you cultivate that ability to really see each other for who they really are. And then when you see that person for who they really are, and yes, with flaws and all, but in those flaws, you accept the flaws, and you're just like, I'm so in love with this person, and I just care so much about them, and I want the best for them. And so when you lay down in the bed, like all that passion and all that intimacy is like, okay, come on.
I feel like you need some Quiet Storm music playing in the background.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, like the intimacy and the bedroom and the feelings.
But it's the truth.
I'm hearing like some Marvin Gaye playing right now. Some Teddy Pendergrass,
brother. What's happening right now?
That's just the way you just levitated just now when you was talking about that. Yes, you did. You was floating out of the chair,
expressing myself and just talking about how important it is, that piece. And for me, it's beyond the bedroom. It's definitely connecting. And then in those moments, being able to speak up and say, hey, let's talk about, this is what I really love, but I don't really like when you do that. I think in those, if you have the intimacy, right? If you have the intimacy there to be able to speak up and feel naked and feel
not ashamed,
right, but you're naked and not ashamed, but you're in those moments when you're expressing. I know, let me speak for myself. In those moments when I express myself to you, sometimes I feel naked, right? Naked in a sense of like, I feel this like, it's almost like embarrassing, like, oh my gosh, like I don't necessarily feel like, like, how do you talk to someone about that? But because I know all these things about how you feel about me, I can truly express, and you not being like, oh, you trying to, so.
Well, in relationships, there should always be a comfort with feeling vulnerable.
Yes.
Right? So if you're naked and not ashamed, and I'm not talking physically naked, but naked in the sense of I'm bearing my soul to you, there's always that level of vulnerability that should be there. But how does the other person make you feel safe in your vulnerability? Right? And not feel judged or belittle you or make you feel stupid or look at you crazy like, yo, what are you talking about? Like that's what I like. That's what I want to do. Right. So and I think that also goes to the intimacy part, right?
Yeah.
Like how do you practice vulnerability? Like that's
In your marriage.
that's why I don't,
and in the bedroom.
I don't even know if we're gonna probably have to do a part 3 because I don't even know if we're gonna have enough time to talk about the kids.
We about to go to the kids in a moment.
We gotta go.
Now we're about to go to the kids. I think we've spent enough time on the can you go to the thing, please? I think we've talked through boundaries that are that you can set in the bedroom. We said speak up. We talked about have a clear and direct. Be very clear and direct about what it is that what you will and what you will not do. Do not wait until you're about to have sex to talk about boundaries. That's a no. We're not talking about that, but like, don't do that. That'd be horrible. You can whatever you want or whatever you don't want. Make sure that your partner knows this before anyone takes their clothes off. So again, don't have that conversation about boundaries when you're about to have sex.
You're like, hold up, we need to talk.
Yeah,
but that's a mood killer.
That is a mood killer. That's almost like, yeah, we're just gonna put my clothes back on.
Yeah, that's like, can you look up what are the ingredients for filet mignon? Like, there's a mood killer in all the
it is.
shape, form, and fashion.
Yeah, that's a hard no.
Kids, the children. Do children need boundaries? Everybody's gonna say, yeah.
Yes, children definitely needs boundaries.
Oh, dumb joke. I think they need the
You
most.
said them jokers.
They need the most boundaries.
So I think it's important for us to teach our kids boundaries so that they can be able to know boundaries that they need to set for themselves. Because children should be, as much as we set boundaries for them, it's to model how we want them to set boundaries for themselves.
Right. Please teach your children boundaries. The reason why I'm like really adamant about teaching children boundaries.
Tell us.
Is because I don't want your boundaryless child disrespecting me or doing something to me when I see them in public or when they're around.
But that's the thing. I think boundaries is kind of, excuse me, it's fluid, right? Because it may be a boundary in their, if you see a child being disrespectful to you is disrespect. In their family, it may not be looked at as disrespect, right? Their boundary could be like, oh, you can act a fool, but make sure you don't talk to a stranger. That's a boundary. They have boundaries. They just may not be they may not share in the same boundaries you have for your kids.
All right. I rock with that. So to the parents that allow their children to be disrespectful in their home, teach them it's not okay to be disrespectful when they're outside their house. Keep that smoke in your house. I can't deal with boundaryless children.
Yeah. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how important it is to set the boundaries for kids.
I think that's important.
For our kids.
So don't come around here with that.
So boundaries are basically set for kids so that kids can feel safe and secure, right? Essentially, that's why we set boundaries for kids. Why else do we set boundaries for kids?
We set boundaries for kids because it encourages the child to learn healthy limits.
Right. And you're not raising them with this entitlement to where they feel like they're entitled to any and everything. Because they're not.
In this entitlement age that we are living
Jesus.
in.
They feel like they're entitled to everything.
Like, I know this one thing with our daughters. They don't have, and because now All right.
Okay.
Because I didn't establish it early on in their development. Our kids have full access to all of my devices.
All.
When it comes to Carlene's device, they don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
They don't look at it.
Don't look at it.
They don't pick it up.
Don't smell it. Nothing.
They be all on my computers. They be in my headphones. And that's like, now I'm at the point where it's like, I don't even know. And I'm going to ask you, parenting specialist.
I'm not a parenting specialist.
I don't even know if I can set a boundary now, because I think they're going to look at me like, whatever.
The thing about boundaries with children is this, just like with boundaries that we set with ourselves, you have to be consistent. You cannot say today, you may not use any of my devices, and then a few hours later, the device is in the children's hands because you decided to not say anything when you saw them pick up your phone or pick up your device. So again, you have to be consistent.
Are you talking to me or talking to the people?
You asked the question. So I'm speaking to you because I've seen how you were just like, I'll ask you, where's your phone?
All right. I'm setting a boundary right now. I'm setting a boundary right now. And I don't like the singing in your voice.
My bad.
When you were just telling me how to set boundaries with our children. There was a lot of inflection in your voice just now.
My bad.
With the singing, because it came across as if you bragging.
I'm not bragging. I think it's a matter of me just expressing to you what exactly it is that I see, and you asked my opinion, and I was just offering it. People
in the comments, was Carlene talking like that before in the earlier part of our show? Did this new singing, talking, did this just arise? I just want to know if anybody else noticed it but me.
What's singing? I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, well, you got to have boundaries when you are with your children.
That's not singing. That's just me talking.
See, Shay Andy, she spoke passionately.
Right.
You be paying the people in the comments.
Not a dime. Not a dime. But it's very important for you. She says I speak the same way.
No.
She says she speaks the same way. I'm just trying to get a point across. But essentially, I just honestly feel that boundaries have to be consistent with kids because they will test those boundaries. They will crawl and walk and shout and stomp and try to walk all over those boundaries if they could, right? But if you want the boundaries to stick, I encourage you to be consistent with kids because they will, in a heartbeat, see your weakness. They're like, ooh, he's not watching, or ooh, he's busy. And if he's busy, this is what they do with Jamie. If I'm being honest, this is what they do with him. Like when he's talking, when he's engaged in a conversation, he's not even aware that they came, took the phone out of his hand, and they run along their merry way, right? He's like, "Where's my phone? Where's my phone? I don't know where my phone is." And I just sit back and look at the whole thing unfold. And I'm just like,
Talk about teammate.
Yes, I'm just gonna watch you because what am I gonna do?
Yep.
And even when I say
talk about teammate,
right? Because even though
talk about
sometimes
we're supposed to be in this together,
we are. Because there have been times when I've been like, "Give your father back his phone," and they'll be like this, and then they'll go and do the same thing.
And then
Jamie.
you're supposed to say, "I tell you, put your father phone down before I come upset."
Oh my gosh, I cannot. Okay, so one of the boundaries that we set for our girls specifically is we set this later on in time because of me. I am taking the blame in this one. Now, before, I think it was because of lack of support, lack of community, we did not take advantage of spending time together spending time together, like going on dates and stuff like that when we moved out here. When we first moved out here because of the lack of community, whatever. And so it was always us and the girls, us and the girls. And so now, I mean, it's beautiful to see how other parents are prioritizing their time together and keeping consistent with the date nights and making sure that, you know, they go on trips and doing all the things. For me, it was me. I was a little bit afraid of leaving people with my children, and unsure of how to do that. And so we just decided that, you know, we'll have our moments, but it won't be on the grand scale of like going out date nights and whatnot. Now we've inserted that boundary where, you know, we set that time for ourselves. And yeah.
Yeah, I think my advice to anybody with children, boundaries need to be set for children, and they need to be set at formative years in their lives. Like, particularly to just the consistency, and when you try to consistency, and even when you're trying to implement a new boundary as they get older, that consistency, you're gonna need to have that consistency even more, because you're breaking them out, or you're helping them learn a new boundary, right? Like when our kids were, you know, 3 and 4, they, you know, it was easier. But now at 12 and 11 and 10, you have to set more boundaries. It becomes a little bit more difficult. But I think that the older they get, they begin to learn to start setting boundaries for themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that we're really trying to teach them, model for them, you know, boundaries with regards to their bodies, right? Boundaries with regards to, you know, their spaces, who they allow in their spaces, and what does that look like with their friends and stuff like that. I don't, you know, it can be a fine line. Do you think that, let me ask this question. Do you think it can be a fine line between boundaries and control? Like trying to control your children?
I think it can be. I don't know. I think the two are completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
Tell
two
me
are
more.
completely different. I think boundaries come with an explanation. Right? I think boundaries come with an understanding. This is why you can't do this, or this is why you shouldn't do this, or this is why we said this. I think with control does not come with any conversation. I think control is just do this, do that. I don't want you to do this or do that. That's my opinion. It'd be different between boundary and a control.
Well, I guess maybe what about in the light of you can't go here, right? Because I don't want you to go here. But you're saying that boundary will warrant a explanation. Why can't I go here?
Right.
Opposed to don't go here.
Right.
Gotcha.
Right. And I think there's also parenting. I think parenting is just an overall umbrella, right? And so part of parenting under that umbrella is setting boundaries for your children, is also discipline, and is also protection, right? So I think with that protection comes with, no, you can't go there. And I'm not explaining to you why, because just know that I'm protecting you from something. But I think boundaries are, you know, in the morning, please, if you come to our room, please knock on the door.
Yeah, facts.
Right? Don't just open up the door. Or if someone's in the bathroom, just knock on the door first.
Yeah.
Boundary, you know, how you talk to each other, how you allow people to talk to you within the family, right? Like these are certain things. I think those are boundaries.
Right.
And I think control, and I think at the end of the day, I don't know if we should be controlling. Do we control our kids? Do we control kids? Do we control humans?
Yeah.
We control our kids.
If you're not careful, yeah. You can control them to the extent where it feels as though they have no voice. They have no, it's almost like they're stuck, and we've kind of kept them in this this grip. So again, I think with the new age parenting, before I grew up in a controlling environment where I felt like, I can't go here, can't go there, can't do this, can't do that. Of course, I'm sure it was for safety purposes, but it was controlling. Versus like new age is almost like, explain to me, mommy, why can't I do this? Why can't I go there? Oh, okay. Glad you asked. The reason why you can't is this, and this.
Was it controlling or very disciplined?
I think it was both. I think it was both.
Okay. Now, let me ask this question. Do you feel like we are parenting in a way that controls our children?
To a certain extent. To a certain extent. I think there's so much I'm learning now as a parent that, like, in hindsight, I probably would not approach certain things the same way because I've read a lot more about how to parent. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm slowly releasing that restraint of, in the name of trying to protect them, trying to kind of keep them safe. It can be restrictive for them where they don't have the ability to experience life and to grow and to be able to ask the questions or to be able to experience the thing, and me be there as a coach saying, okay, let me kind of, this is how you approached it. How can we try to figure out different ways of approaching it next time? This book that I've been reading has been really my.
Yeah, I think this warrants another conversation because I feel like different parenting styles. I don't feel like we control our kids.
Okay.
I don't feel like, and now maybe it can be different parenting styles where you may feel like you are controlling them. And I'm looking at you, I don't look at it as control.
How do you look at it?
I just look at it as protecting and parenting. I don't know.
There's a difference though.
I just have, like, I guess maybe in my brain, a different definition or a different understanding of what control. Control to me, my definition of control is you don't have voice. And I don't feel like you parent or we parent, or I haven't witnessed something that you have done or we have done, or we said they can't do a certain thing, and they didn't have the freedom to ask why or the freedom to, to express themselves in a way that if they felt like they disagreed.
Yeah, I guess for me, maybe because I've felt certain parts as being a parent earlier on, and even like a little bit now, I still feel like I sometimes control them in a sense of like, okay, like, for example, let's take clothes, right? Like, I want them to look a certain way. I want them to present themselves a certain way. And so it was almost like, I'm going to pick out your clothes for you because this is something that you need to learn and I need to model, right? And then that was relinquished because then I started seeing that what we were teaching them about how to put yourself together, I saw that they were improving.
But they were definitely improving. But they were definitely able to express to us. Like, I think when you use the example of the clothes, I look at it as we are trying to control outcomes, right? So it's like we're trying to control what we're controlling, we're monitoring and looking at what they wear because we're looking at what the outcome might be, right? So we're trying to control what the outcome. So if you dress like this, and we all know this, if you grow up, most people growing up in whoever you are, we knew that if you dress a certain way, people are going to treat you a certain way. If you dress a certain way, people are going to look at you a certain way. So I think, like, when we talk about how they dressed and changing their clothes and telling them to, you gonna wear this, you gonna wear that. I don't necessarily see it as controlling them, but I do see it as we're trying to protect or control the narrative about them. That's my opinion, because I don't feel like I honestly wholeheartedly do not feel like anytime. I feel like you control robots, you control animals, but I don't feel like there's any point or any time with raising our children where if we asked them or told them to do something else, that they didn't have a voice to express, like, I don't like that. Or, we know this, that us growing up, if our parents told us to do something and we didn't do it, and if we try to even show a sign like,
Right.
you was getting hit right away.
Right.
Our kids have done that, and we have not acted out of vengeance or anything to that nature. So I think, when we were growing up, like, that was a form of control. Like, you could not even, like, you couldn't even express your displeasure. You had to do it. I think I saw a video. I think I sent it to you. A little boy, I think his father told him to clean the house, and the little boy went outside to vent his anger, and he didn't know that he was on the doorbell camera. And you heard him out there. He was like, he needed to tell his fat self to get up and clean the house.
Oh my
his
gosh.
Fat self always cleaning the bathroom and stuff like that. So, like,
Wow.
because that little boy know that if he dare
Say that in front of his
or
father.
even look like he was saying it was gonna be left and rights and uppercuts all day. But that's my opinion.
Okay. I mean, I can see what you're saying. I think maybe what I'm saying is I think I have the ability to control, but I think I try to balance that control with being able to hear them out, being able to, give them a safe space for them to communicate whatever it is that is on their heart, right? I think I have the ability to kind of just be like, no, I kind of want you to do it this way, or I want you to kind of, no, let's do it this way. But, now I think I'm a lot better where I feel that I'm now able to compromise and give them the ability to speak up. So I just want to,
that's a boundary.
And that's a boundary
That you set for yourself.
Right. Where it's just like, yeah. So this book has literally changed my perspective in terms of parenting. It is painful. I'm sorry. It is painful. And it is, it's a painful read. And it's a painful read as a recovering helicopter mom, overparenting mom. And so, a low-key overparenting. I don't think I was high-key. I think it was low-key. But this book is called How to Raise an Adult, Break Free of the Overparenting Trap and Prepare Your Kids for Success. This is by Julie Lythcott Himes, or Hames. But essentially, this book is allowing Jamie and I to have some courageous conversations about our children. And it's a hard read because, again, if you're just kind of like a parent, if you have not started in the parenting journey, read it. If you are just at the beginning of your parenting journey, I would suggest that you read it. If you are like me, you're just like, yo, there are some things that, I would like to change, or I feel like I'm open to whatever. This book, you should read it. It definitely is just unearthing some serious stuff within us as parents, and pretty much just raising our kids for being adults, not dependent on us. And when you read about all the things that our society, how parents are doing the kids' homework, how parents are going to job interviews with their kids, how parents are like forcing their kids to do this thing, because this is the thing that I want you to do, because that's the thing that you're going to do in order for you to be successful. I'm telling you, this joint it's hard. It's a hard read, but I'm pushing through it. I'm almost through with it. I'm doing the audio version. But when I tell you that this book has changed my perspective on parenting in such a positive way. And for us too, because we're kind of, I'm listening to it, but Jamie's listening to it as well. And we're just kind of talking through some things, but this book is bananas. It is bananas, but I think it is something I wish I read when the girls were toddlers, or something that I would have read. I wish I would have read it when I wasn't a parent as yet. But this is definitely a book that I would highly suggest for those that are parents who really want to raise adults that are not going to be dependent on us for everything. Mm-hmm. It's good, y'all. And maybe we'll have an episode where we just talk through some of the things about what the book has to share.
I think that would be a dope addition to the show. Like, just what are we reading, and just kind of like a chapter, and just talking about what we're currently reading and digesting in this present moment.
Yeah. So Jamie just posted the link up to the book in the chat. Check it out. And like my best friend Carrie, she's the one that suggested it to me. And yeah, I'm so glad that she did. Thank you, girl. And so
shout out to Carrie.
And so I am forever indebted to her for this introducing to me this book where Jamie and I are having courageous conversations about our girls. But it's so good, y'all. It's so good. But it is an hour and 14 minutes and counting that we've been in this space. We talked about boundaries.
We got a whole lot more to talk about. Oh, man, because we don't even cover half of the half. But we do hope that whatever we do cover, that you continue the conversation. Mm-hmm. That's the main point. So we don't cover everything. We want you to cover the rest of the conversation tomorrow at lunch with your husband, your wife, your spouse, whomever it may be, that you would continue keep it going.
Yeah. Keep it going with your, I'm sorry. I'm messing up, y'all. Doing it. I mean, go ahead and continue to converse with your spouse, with your boo, whoever it is, and just have these courageous conversations about all things boundaries. Any closing thoughts?
Just keep the conversation going.
We love y'all. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend, a wonderful Sabbath. We love y'all. Peace.
3, 2, 1.